This is basically exactly what I needed this episode to be. Episode 5 of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Truth. This felt like, I don't want to say a course correction, but it felt like a waylaying of the fears that I had that kind of started to get dredged up in the previous episode. And I love it because it basically dedicates an entire episode to just getting in touch properly, fully, with where these characters are at this point, and why, and what they're grappling with, and where they're going to try and head from here. I am not missing action scenes of this. There's really only the fight at the start between John Walker, Bucky, and Sam. That's really it for this. And I actually almost forgot that was there, because it's not the highlight. The highlight is seeing everybody try and come to terms with everything going on. And it's exactly what I needed. Oh boy, there's so much to try and just cover that I really liked, because this is one of those instances where everything kind of feeds into each other and is all wonderfully tightly knit from a thematic and its overall points perspective. So let's start with Isaiah, because Sam coming back into possession of the shield. Well, actually, let's back up. Sam coming back into possession of the shield, and it's bloody. He has to clean it off. And then he brings it to talk to Isaiah, and Isaiah's reaction to it. And specifically, his line where he says, they would never let a black man be Captain America, and no black man should want to be. So here's what I love about that. It is, in a way, kind of paralleling the role of Captain America to that of the police in America. It's not a direct allegory, it's not a one-to-one, but it is evoking that same kind of thing, which is that what this thing symbolizes has been so broken in its treatment of black people that you might not be able to clean the blood off. And I love that is both literal and metaphorical. The shield has been tainted. It's been bloodied. Can it mean the same thing when even as a symbol, it now has blood on it? Can someone like Sam truly bring meaning and a sense of what it's meant to embody back to that shield after it's been tainted like this? And he thinks it's worth trying. Isaiah, for his part, thinks, don't bother. And I totally get both perspectives. Neither feels like it's being painted as being wrong. And it's a very legitimate question. And this show has made the point up to now saying that that shield, honestly, whatever value it had, was granted to it not by America, which is what it's now being taken to symbolize, but by Steve Rogers himself. Steve bolstered almost everything he touched, including that shield, including the image of the things that shield was meant to represent. But if he's not there, and so many other people, especially the poor guy, well, I say poor guy, we'll deal with John in a minute, with the guy who was tasked with having to carry it after that, they can't measure up. And they are now dirtying that symbol because, as said, there has not been another Steve Rogers. As aspirational figure as he is, he really did set a bar that very, very, very few people will ever clear. And handing over a symbol that has been bolstered by him and just bestowing that respect onto another human being who clearly at this point did not deserve it. Yeah, that's not going to go well for anybody. So let's talk about John Walker. At this point now especially, I feel really happy having made the comparison, I think 2 episodes ago, saying that he gave me Brett Kavanaugh vibes. Because now we have a scene of him in a hearing basically shouting and saying, I did all the things I was supposed to do. I'm owed this. You have to listen to me because I did what I was supposed to do. And it is that sense of entitlement. And I'm not sure this is something actually injected into the film, but it's something from white perspective. I do understand that the narrative fed to him has been, if you do the right things, if you do what we tell you, we are going to reward you with, whatever. In his case, he thought it was going to be Captain America's shield. In day-to-day life, it's things like if you go to school, get good grades, go to college, you'll be rewarded with a job and a nice career and a marriage and a house with a picket fence and a mortgage. And I'm like, I just know. Even if you do the things that are supposed to get you that, doesn't mean you're going to get it. And so I do relate to John's frustration, but also, f that guy. Seriously? Me understanding where his frustration comes from and where it's rooted from is not me giving him a pass or saying, "Aw, poor him." I know I said poor John earlier, but honestly, anybody who was going to take up the shield would have been, "Oh, poor guy," a bit. But John specifically, no. And that showing his obsession with getting what he feels he was owed. And this is the fundamental difference between John Walker and Sam Wilson. John Walker feels that he is owed that shield. Sam is working to earn that shield. And that dichotomy is the fundamental difference between these two men and why Sam was far more worthy, even before he was prepared to step up, always far worthier of carrying that shield than John was or ever would be. I really appreciate that Bucky owned up to his own shortcomings and basically saying to Sam, "Look, I didn't get it. I did not understand what it meant for a black person to carry that shield, and I came down harder on you than you deserved." Which, honestly, the basic sentiment of that, I get that I don't get it. That's sometimes, again, as a white person, that feels like the best you can do. And it can feel inadequate, but honestly, it's a starting point to at least admit that, no, I don't properly understand. And I'm sorry. So that was great to see. Something about the boat. Something about the community coming together, especially after Sam talked to Isaiah. Something about this community that is looking out for each other because nobody from the outside is. He's not going to get a loan. He can't even sell this dang thing. But they will come together and bolster each other and do right by each other, even if the authority figures are ignoring them. There's something really beautiful about that to me. I felt a little conflicted when Bucky showed up, because it felt to me a little bit like, I'm not sure your place is here right now. But, it is called Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and his interactions with Sam were really solid after he did show up. So even though I felt like, and here's the white guy who's also going to help, felt like it took the wind out of the sails of that message a little, it does not totally undermine it. So it's okay. I can run with it. I can go with that. I don't know what to do with Julia Louis-Dreyfus showing up in this. I didn't know who her character was. I had to Google that nonsense, and it's a very minor character, which actually makes me all the more curious because that makes it a character that Marvel has a heck of a lot more freedom to work with. My assumption at this point is that she's going to turn out to be the power broker, because at least so far she's just kind of shown up and done nothing. And prior to her being revealed, my assumption was that Sharon was going to be revealed to be the power broker, which feels really obvious to the point that I kind of hope they don't do it, but I'm running out of things that it might be otherwise. But if it turns out to be Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character, trying to say her name quick, it throws me off. Having her be that character sets her up to do more things later, which I assume they're going to do with the talent of her stature coming in for really just one scene in the second to last episode of a miniseries. No. They're going to keep using her after this thing's over. So I'm really curious to see where that's going to go. But right now I'm just kind of like, okay, I'm intrigued. You got me. There was another moment, well, just a line, really. There was one line that was said when this Global Relocation Council, or whatever the hell it is, which, like, I guess ultimately it doesn't matter, but I do find myself wondering, just straight logistics, who gave these people the authority to do what they're doing? Which, I mean, I suppose we had, like, the World Council prior to this, which seemed to be behind S.H.I.E.L.D., or, like, whatever the hell that was. So, it's not, like, weirdly powerful organizations that don't directly answer to anybody are new, but at least that was, like, a shadowy thing. Here, it's like everyone knows what this organization is. Who the heck granted this thing that much power? That it's unilaterally well, not unilaterally. Well, as an organization, yeah, unilaterally deciding, oh, we're just going to move people around. What if they don't want to? Tough. But anyways, there was a line in that sort of meeting room, that boardroom, that really kind of made me go, oh. And it's when the guy at the head, who obviously he thinks he knows what they should be doing, and he goes, why are we even having a vote? We can just do it. Which, given the past presidential election, and given what Republicans in a lot of states are currently doing to suppress votes and make it harder for people to vote in a way that very clearly will make it harder for people who voted Democrat to vote. Yeah. Yeah, that line made me angry in a way that I actually wonder, I might be getting angrier about that line than was even intended at the time it was written, but it's angry in a good way. Seeing this pompous jackass, and yeah, white guy, should be, standing up and go, why are we even bothering to vote? Oh. Ow. And that does a lot to bolster my understanding of Carly. I'm not going to say I'm on her side, and she's the one thing that I'm still a little on, but she doesn't get as much screen time in this one, so I don't have as many thoughts on her this time. And we'll see how that ultimately plays out in the last episode. I like the way that they signed off Zemo, although, again, logistical question, which was weird. But a quick second on that. I never really thought that Bucky was going to kill Zemo. Not actually necessarily because I thought Bucky was incapable of doing it, but just because I'm like, they're doing too many interesting things with this character. The Marvel is not going to kill him off. Not like this. No, definitely not. And I was right. But him handing Zemo over to the Wakandans feels right. What felt weird was when they say they're going to put him on the raft. The raft was the prison that Tony Stark made to house people who wouldn't sign people with superpowers who wouldn't sign the Sokovia Accords. I mean, that's what it was evoking. I can't remember now if it was actually called the raft in that. I think it was. But that's definitely what it was. Why are the Wakandans putting him there? And, like, who controls the raft? Like, Tony put that together so far as I know, but that would have been under the direction of the Americans. It makes total sense that the Wakandans take Zemo, but, like, unless Wakanda now controls the raft, which it'd be nice if that got established, I'm like, why are you handing him over to anyone else after what you've been through to get your hands on him? That was very strange to me. The only thing that I can think of is that it's a future logistical thing, which is ultimately they're going to have Zemo break out again. And I guess it would reflect worse on Wakanda as as a nation in terms of its own security, and given what we've seen Wakanda, there should be no way he could bust out of a legitimate Wakanda prison, not without inside help, which I mean, suppose they could also do. But like something like the raft, I'm like, oh yeah, sure, he could probably figure out a way out of that, and it doesn't reflect badly on any of the characters or entities or nations we're currently dealing with. So maybe that's why, or maybe they just thought it was a cool callback. Hey, we'll reference the raft. I'm like, yeah, but that didn't make sense. I don't know. That's like a tiny nitpick thing, though. This was really good. This brought the thematics to the forefront again, and it made it clear to me, at least, that this show does understand the situations and the circumstances and the baggage that the story that it's telling needs to be able to handle. And I think it's handling them well. I'm still going to be nervous about last episodes. I'm always nervous about last episodes because, yeah, it's possible for absolutely everything to fall apart at the very last minute. So, but I'm not as scared as I was after the previous episode. I was nervous after episode 4. This was very reassuring. And I want to see how they tie things up. And, like, there'll be action scenes and fights. And, you know, we saw John Walker building his own shield. Jackass. Basically going vigilante. So, you know, that'll all be dealt with. There'll have to be action around Carly and all of that. Sharon will probably come back, whether she's the power broker or not. But it's watching the theming and the emphasis on the place these characters have within this world and what that thematically relates to in the real world. That's what I'm really interested in. And that's what this episode gave me more confidence about. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, episode 5. What did you think about it? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. I have a Patreon, link in the description, because I used to be able to put it up there, but YouTube's busted and won't reply to my help tickets. But if you are able to help me out in any amount, this is my living. It's how I'm able to pay my bills and keep this whole thing up and running. But you also don't have to. Like, share, subscribe also helps me out, but no pressure on that either, because we take a relaxed attitude around here. So you can just come on back next time you need a break.